You don't go vegan. You stop wearing and eating sentient animals that have the inherent desire to live. Hashtag vegan is the default. At Vegan Vision, animals don't have a desire to live. They don't even know anything. What makes you think they have the same rights as humans? You're just one of those people who doesn't actually see the facts and just blurt out all your fake lies in. At Gronk, if animals don't have a desire to live, why does a gazelle run when a cheetah chases it? Why does a deer flee when it hears a twig snap in the forest? It's called the flight or fight response. You can see obvious examples of this if you just turn on Animal Planet. Or try listening to the sound of screaming pigs in the gas chamber. Animals have to be restrained in order for someone to bolt gun them in the head without them attacking or running off. Evolution gifted both human and non-human animals with this reflex, as well as the ability to feel pain. You ignore the living nightmare animals experience at your hands and act as if animals have the emotional capacity of a rock. The difference between humans and animals isn't the ability to desire life, it's the ability to have morals and reason so we may rise above our animal nature to more civil and just beings. Talk about not seeing facts. Next time, come correct before you call me a liar. Our society has a propensity. Okay. We have human beings, we have animals, we have plants, and then we have bacteria and microbes, those kinds of organisms, and then we have the abiotic world, the non-living world, the material world, whether that be the natural material world, where like you could stumble across a rock or a mountain that's naturally there, or say a house or a car. But when it comes to life, leaving the microbes, bacteria aside, we see it as humans, animals, and plants. And humans, we focus on the difference between humans and animals so much that we tend to see animals more like plants and treat them more like plants than we treat them like ourselves. Our dogs, they're like house plants to a lot of people that you can cuddle with and will show you affection. That's the only difference. We grow and harvest animals like plants. Think about a farm that is growing a field of wheat or a field of rice. You have to plant the seed, water the seed, feed the seed to make sure it grows, and you're trying to plant the best seeds, the seeds that have the best genes so that you can get the best outcome of your crop. And then once your crop is ready to be harvested, what do? Sometimes you take a knife, you cut it, you pick it, you harvest it, and then you package it up and ship it off to be sold. Animals. No one can say and truly believe that animals do not have feelings, do not have the desire to live, do not have personalities, including cows, pigs, and chickens. That they do not have themselves the ability to experience a subjective reality from their own point of view, their own individual point of view. And this is why it gets so heated. Because I myself have the ability to experience reality from an individualized, a personal, deeply personal point of view that no one else on this planet will ever be able to experience life the way I do And I'll never be able to experience reality the way anybody else or any other animal does. And we grow them using the genes that are going to give us the most monetary return. So that means we grow them as big as possible, as fast as possible, to produce as much milk and as much eggs as they can produce for us. Not for them, but for us. And then when they're nice and fat and ripe, or they're no longer able to produce eggs or dairy, they can no longer give birth to piglets. Where do they go? Not to mention the fact that these animals keep being brought into the world somehow, and every time a pig brings more babies into the world, every time a cow brings more babies into the world, a chicken brings more babies into the world. None of these families stay together. None of these families stay together. In third grade, we learned, I specifically remember this, we learned about how there are different types of animals, such as mammals, reptiles, amphibians, birds, fish. And we learned specifically that mammals like to care for their young up until a certain point. They like to have their young. They're not like reptiles where they just lay an egg and go along their day. And then the baby hatches and can take care of itself from the beginning. Mammals aren't built like that. Mammals like to take care of their young. Human beings are mammals. And generally speaking, most human beings love to take care of their young. But we treat these animals like plants, where I can take a seed from one plant and I can ship it off across the world and plant that seed there. Or I can take the plants that came from one plant and harvest them and just do whatever I like. Separate the plants. Who cares? They're plants. Plants don't have an idea of family. They don't have connections with each other. And so one of the most irritating arguments I hear is plants though. And that's just the problem. Plants though is the problem. We equate these animals that have a subjective experience of reality to plants that do not. And we see animals more like plants than we do like ourselves, even though we ourselves are animals. But we're so detached. We take away, we separate families. Once they can no longer produce families or produce milk, eggs, once they're big enough, then we send them to a slaughterhouse. That's how we harvest animals. A slaughterhouse. Rice doesn't need to be harvested in a slaughterhouse. For the past 1.5 years, every meal I've had, no one had to have their neck sliced for it. That used to make me feel good. But then one day something clicked, and I got angry. I just look around at the world, and nobody cares. We treat animals more like plants than we do like ourselves. More like a crop to harvest than an individual. And I know that if someone saw me like that, And because they saw me like that now my life was at risk, that now my family's being separated, if that were me, I would be praying to God that someone were screaming on my behalf because I couldn't speak up for myself. These animals aren't voluntarily running to the knife. Animals have no desire to live. They are not voluntarily running to the knife. Like I said, we have to restrain them in order to get the bolt gun into their head. Have you seen these slaughterhouse footage videos? They usually guide the animal, whether it be a pig, a cow, sheep, goat, into this metal, like rectangular thing with walls up, where they can either stun the animal or bolt gun the animal. That is, if they stun them. They have to be restrained for that. Have you ever been in an environment where you just felt uneasy? Do we really think that animals are so stupid? And remember now, evolution gifted us all with the desire to protect our lives. It gave us all the hardware. One time I was at the mall and I had my earbuds in. And I was in a store. All of a sudden, I couldn't hear anything. But it's like all of a sudden the energy just shifted. And I saw everyone looking weird, getting worried. I ripped my earbuds out. I look outside the store, everyone's running. I hear moms trying to get their children. I don't think. I drop everything and run. I had no clue why everyone else was running. I just dropped and ran. I was able to imagine why we were running because we have the news. I see the craziness in the media where people go into public and just start shooting the place up. So I figured, you know what? I don't need a concrete answer right now. I'm just going to get out of here. Maybe it was someone shooting the place up. That's what I imagined it to be. Little did I realize until I got home that I didn't even hear any gunshots the entire time. I was just running. I was just making sure that my life was getting out of there safe, and everyone else was too. Later on, I learned that it was someone in the movie theater at the mall who was having a beef with somebody else, and they had a gun. It wasn't someone going crazy. I mean, if you want to call that not being crazy, but it wasn't someone trying to take out a whole bunch of innocent people. Now, I didn't have to. Biology created me and every other person in that mall who was running to want to naturally save our lives. We didn't have to sit there and do a mathematical equation. Like, should we save our lives or not? No. Fight or flight response is not special to humans. Animals have this too. They also have the desire to be with their families. They have the desire to have freedom and to live their lives. And we need to focus on noticing the similarities with animals and humans instead of noticing the differences. Because that's what's causing this. And that's what causes us, because the differences are just so large in humanity's cultural mind, that we completely disregard the similarities. But we acknowledge them on a tiny scale Because if we didn't acknowledge the similarities at all, then there wouldn't be these terms such as humane slaughter, free range, grass-fed, as if grass-fed means anything. Bolt guns and electric stunners wouldn't exist. We just slice the animals open, the way true carnivores do, and don't care. They don't care, they see it as food. Why do we feel the need to make these animals' deaths more pleasant? Because deep down inside we know. That's why.